people, if anyone out there who's listening, people a lot of times forget that your core is a muscle too. So it's just like any other muscle where if you work it out a certain amount, it is going to expand and get bigger. And if you do the right techniques, so that's why you don't see a lot of these, especially, figure and bikini girls. Most of them don't train abs. That's one of the things that we've found out. A lot of it is just the cardio and the leaning down process. But what was that like going up on that stage being, it's your first pro show? Was there a lot of excitement, a lot of nerves?
It was the whole climate was different. When the show that I had done prior to that was Masters Nationals, which they just had that just this weekend in Pittsburgh, and everybody was nerves in the back and just chatter, 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 and people worried about what they're going to look like. A lot of pumping up, which is a whole other thing that I found out you don't pump up until right before you go on stage. So it was just much more peaceful and relaxed backstage. I know there were nerves because once we stepped on stage, so there were 27 competitors in this show, and it was an open, right? And it was alphabetical order. So I'm a B. Okay, so I was up. I was maybe the fourth or fifth person on stage. So I had to wait till stand there, pose, and wait till everybody else was done. And I was a nervous wreck. And I'm pretty sure I sped through my routine, but I had the opportunity to kind of watch a lot of the other girls. And although they were pros, they were hella nervous up there. They were shaking like everybody else. So that kind of made me feel like, you know, it kind of set me at ease standing up there because we were all nervous, right? I mean,
Yeah, and honestly, one of my last few guests that I had on probably a couple weeks ago, she brought up the point that I'd never realized, even though I talked, like hundreds of, athletes before, is that her name was also started with a B. So I mean, she got called up there early, and then you have to be posing there. You still have to, the whole
yeah,
entire time. So it's like these poor people, all the stuff that they have to go through, and I mean, you have to put them up there. So it's like, yeah, I want to. I mean, if you have a last name that starts with a Z, then I guess you're set. I mean, you just basically
yeah.
you only have to be up there for a little amount of time. But then another thing that I didn't realize at all too is that one of the Australians that I had on a few weeks ago too, she talked about how her last show, the reason that she didn't get first place, the judges said, is because she wasn't able to maintain that smile. I mean, that's one of those things that I would have never guessed in a million years. But I mean, those jaw muscles must just be absolutely dead sore. But is there anything that you change up with your posing routine at all? Did you introduce new stuff? Is there any change in that?
Yeah, so you do a little bit. You have a minute and a half really to fill. So you have to be careful though, because if you fill the entire minute and a half, I think it gives the judges an opportunity to pick up your flaws, right? So you just you go through and you just try to fire all your muscles constantly through every pose that you do. So I think that the thing that changed the most that changed was when you come out, you have a couple of poses right at the beginning in the back of the stage. And those are just, you're not really getting judged on those per se. Those are more like photo op moments. So that's the time when you want to look the most presentable in a way for the photography. And then when you go up and you go through your model poses, you just have to make sure that you're waiting long enough. So counting to like 3 or 4, holding all your poses, firing your muscles for the pictures. It's just a slower process. And yeah, there's a little bit more of a routine to it, you know.
Well, and I always said too, I mean, most of the times we've had guests on, they talk about, like the amateur shows where you're only out there for, I mean, it's just basically just let's get them going, let's get them through, let's get them through. But now that
Absolutely, yeah.
minute and a half that you guys have, I mean, you really got to be a little bit more creative. And did that minute and a half feel like an eternity when you were out there?
It kind of felt like an eternity. I mean, it you know, it's you're just so nervous, right? And but it really had it really it went fast in a way because it seemed like I stood on stage forever waiting for everybody else to go. So like you said, your face is like shaking from smiling, and I had to keep shifting my position. I mean, literally, I had like 20 some other people that went after me. So that's a minute and a half per person. So standing there, I mean, I'm 51 years old. I needed a chair. I wanted to sit down so
That's 30
badly.
minutes basically of just standing there.
Just
It's like,
smiling. and kind of, you the judges are looking at you the whole time. They're scanning the girls. They're looking at the woman that's on stage. So you have to be on the entire time. You can't just check out, sadly.
Yeah, I know. I was gonna say, like, I would just be that one person where I just be like, just like stand like right here, like right where I'm now, just like sitting and just clapping every
Hmm.
once in a while, like whenever someone's done with their routine. Yeah, yeah, that would seem like such a better effort. But
Yeah, it takes a long time.
well, especially being out there in those heels too. I mean, especially at like 50 years old too. It's like, oh my
Yes, and my knees got my I have bad knees, so just standing there, and you're trying to look muscular too, so trying to kind of fire your muscles at the same time. It was exhausting, honestly. People think it's easy.